liquefy your brain. This book is sure to liquefy your brain.
That's appropriate for this episode.
Yeah, I thought so too. Welcome to Folie, Deux, the podcast where we rate and rant all things spooky. But it's still just movies.
Movies.
Yeah, it's still just movies.
Just movies.
And speaking of movies, we had just watched a movie, believe it or not.
No way.
Yes way. And guess what, audience? Jessica will say what movie we just watched.
We just watched Mandy.
Mandy. Oh my God. I was actually kind of excited for this because I knew that Nic Cage was in it, and I haven't seen a Nic Cage movie in a while.
I had heard that he was in it.
How did that make you feel?
Well, I am not a huge Nic Cage fan.
Oh.
So
Is it his acting? It's probably just the way he looks.
His
It can't be his
face
acting.
when he smiles.
Right.
When he's happy in life.
It's like a kind of grin. With
I would be
crazy
happier if
eyes.
he wasn't happy in life.
Oh my. Well, I mean, if you followed along with him, at least within the last 10 years, he's gone bankrupt and.
Oh no, I kind of feel bad.
Yeah. So Mandy is kind of a wild card, is what it seems like a wild card so far within the movies that we've watched.
Yeah.
It definitely has the kind of independent indie kind of movie feel to it, but it seems to be funded really well. It's highly stylized, so I mean, I think that masks a lot of things. Mm-hmm. But one thing that we noticed initially was not just like the amount of gore, but the type of gore. And I don't think they relied much on CGI effects when it comes to that gore.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. It took a little bit for me to realize this because about half the movie I was like, where are we? What's who are these people? Who are you? Like I knew who they were, but I didn't at the same time. It's like
well, you still don't get a ton of information on who like anyone is.
You never learn the main character. You don't know Nic Cage's real name.
Yeah, I had to look it up.
Yeah, and we chose not to read the description that Shudder gave us, and I for some reason I was going to right before we started, and I'm like, nah. And then just go straight into it. And then afterwards, I'm like, I kind of wish I did because they never brought that up. And I'm not saying like only good movies, do so, but it's like, I got to start out somewhere, man. Like I'm seeing, where you start off like where he works and everything. And then you see Mandy and what she does. And then that's about it. And then it's just like their relationship in between.
Yeah. I mean, there's no background for any of the characters really. Mm-hmm. You get a little background on like some of the villains in it, and they're very even
subtle.
That, it was like, well, there are rumors about that,
right.
So it's kind of.
And I mean, like they leave subtle. There's obviously they try to be subtle with some stuff, especially even like Mandy's scar and stuff, which she had to have gotten that from something. But they're like, well, that's a story for another day, and you're like, not after this movie, it's not. So thanks for letting us know.
Yeah.
I guess before we jump into this Mandy movie, Nic Cage classic. Let's just talk about the director. The director is super awesome, Panos Cosmatos. Such a cool name. He also directed Beyond the Black Rainbow.
I've not seen that, but just
either.
The title of it, I feel like it would be the same theme of this movie.
I do too. Yeah, I do too. I think just watching this gave me a good idea as to what
I think
kind
this
of
guy
movies
likes to do
makes.
A lot of acid.
I think so. I felt like we were on acid the whole ride through. It was like a slow burn.
It just felt like a Manson movie where it was just like, acid is groovy. Kill the pit.
So I snagged just a quick snippet about the movie. And so it said, the enchanted lives of a couple in a secluded forest are brutally shattered by a nightmarish hippie cult and their demon biker henchmen, propelling a man into a spiraling, surreal rampage of vengeance.
We also mentioned that this kind of felt like a John Wick storyline dipped in.
Mm-hmm. Except I cared a lot more about that dog, about the little puppy.
Well, there wasn't a dog in this one.
I know. It was
so,
a human being.
Yeah, you definitely cared more about that dog.
It's Nic Cage. Nic Cage is in this movie. Everyone else, whatever. It's Nic Cage. So
I don't think you've said his name enough.
Oh, Nicolas Cage.
I think you have to say it 5 times, and then he appears.
It's like I love you, I love you, I love you.
I love you,
Nicolas
love you,
Cage,
love
Nicolas Cage, Nicolas Cage.
Big smiles.
Big smiles. That should have been my tongue twister. Nicolas Cage, Nicolas Cage, Nicolas Cage, Nicolas Cage, Nicolas Cage. But yeah, so I guess without, and for fun facts too, I really don't have a lot of fun facts, which is kind of odd. I feel like movies, well, maybe not. I don't know. Like movies now might have more fun facts to give out. I'm only thinking about it from a marketing standpoint, and people like posting blogs and articles just to get that, spread, especially in an independent movie like this.
Yeah.
You need that. So I don't know. And one of them I took out because I had to look up again and be like, what?
To verify.
Yeah. Well, one of them said that the cult leader in this movie
was a real cult leader.
Yes, in real life. And I'm like, he's an actor. It's just what he is. Because I looked it up and there was no mention at all. And I'm like, there's no way that he is. And I don't know. So I took that out just in case, so we're not giving out false information.
Well, what we did find out was Elijah Wood was one of the producers.
Yeah. And from what I've heard, I think we talked about this before, not on the podcast, but about Elijah Wood and how he's been very much adamant about the movie industry and like the rampant, I guess, like pedophilia that. Well, he's been in
the industry since he was a little boy.
And so like he's been very open about it being an issue in the industry, and he's been very vocal about it, and how I guess that in turn has also blacklisted him from getting specific roles. I don't know that, but that's what I've heard specifically with him, which you're just like, oh yeah, at least you're in some of the greatest movies ever made anyways. So
that's the takeaway.
That's
here.
the takeaway. But yeah, he's a producer in this movie. So I wonder, I should have looked up other movies that he's like produced recently. And stuff,
I'd be curious to see.
And it's interesting to see him in like the horror industry genre too, which before we started,
he was in there was like a horror movie that came out a few years ago that he was in. Was it like Manic or something, or Mannequin or something? It was something like that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like there's a lot of scalping in it or something. So I didn't watch it.
Well, did you feel like this movie fit within the horror genre?
No, I mean, there was a lot of gore and there was like some creepy stuff. Like we were talking during the movie, and there's a few scenes where we were like, oh, this kind of feels like Hellraiser almost. It just in a couple scenes.
Well, they obviously do homages because they brought up like Crystal Lake Crystal or whatever.
Yeah, Crystal Lake. Yeah, they're definitely kind of like tipping their hats to certain movies, but I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily put this in the horror genre, but maybe the spooky one. Yeah. It felt more like a thrill, like a spooky thriller.
Yeah, like we said, it's like a spooky John Wick.
Mm-hmm.
Just like vengeance, retribution kind of movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's just jump into this bitch.
Let's jump into it. Okay. So we have our two characters that the movie's kind of set up around, which is Red, who we never really know his name.
No one ever says his name. He never says his name. He never says, my name, Red.
Ever. So that's Nic Cage. And in the first couple scenes, we see that he is basically like a lumberjack, and
he's out working hard.
He's out working hard in the fields, and this takes place in like 1983, I think it's what it said.
Okay.
And he
it had like the really like
it felt like
fancy,
almost like Stranger Things kind of vibe with like Dracula font or something. But so that's how the movie is kind of, or the time period is introduced, and then. So we see him working. We understand what he does. They then show him going home to his wife, Mandy. And we actually don't find out her name until probably halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
And they live in just kind of this weird, it looks like they put together their own kind of like house that almost all of the walls are made of windows that they kind of like, it is like a puzzle
especially
piece.
Their bedroom.
Their bedroom is just, it's all windows. So it looks like they're kind of like sticking out, hanging over something. And I don't know, we were talking and I was like,
that's, at first I'm sure you're like, wow.
Yeah, cool. That was really cool. And then I was like, ooh, I don't think I'd like that much, because they're in the middle of the forest. So it's just like pitch black. And I don't know, if I heard something crunching outside of my window, I would poop my pants.
Yeah. I poop my pants next to you. And we have two poop pants for everyone to see.
Folie a doo-doo.
Folie a doo-doo to you too.
Oh, God, this is going downhill. Anyway, so we have this setup, and we can tell that they are it looks like they're kind of like a a rocker, kind of like almost like
she wears like Black Sabbath shirts.
Yeah, she has this long black hair. She's kind of like witchy looking, and they just basically have a pretty simple life. She does like illustrations and stuff like that, and she's really into the cosmic energy, and she reads all of these novels about wizards and all of this stuff, and
she's very much into that shit.
And then there are like a number of just kind of random scenes that we have. We see them in their bedroom. We see them kind of watching TV. We see them out at the lake. And like we already have this trippy vibe going on with kind of the like visual effects, the colors in the movie. It's kind of going in and out between the realistic shots and like these very intense kind of, I don't know. It's
and not to mention very slow moving.
It's
like
very slow.
He essentially walks into the house in one scene and says like, "What are you drawing?" And then she's just like,
"This.
I'm drawing this." And then he just goes, "Oh, awesome." And then you just have like a pause
and he just watches her draw,
and then it just fades, and you're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, and then you have other scenes of like she is talking to him about this kind of traumatic thing that happened in her childhood where her dad killed all of these baby birds. And
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so it's all of these kind of like random scenes, and I think they're trying to tell a story of this is their life. This is the most exciting stuff that happened. But they're very connected and they love
they're
it.
Connected
so
people. They have a history of some kind.
Yeah, it takes a while. But we see her walking down this road in the forest, and there's this van that starts driving opposite her, so they're kind of coming towards each other, and the van slows down as it passes, and we see there are about like 7 or 8 people in this van, and the person in the passenger seat is closest to her as she's walking on the side of the road, and their eyes meet, and it's this guy who has like kind of this longer hippie hair, again kind of like very Manson-y style. He's
got the sunglasses where it kind of fades and from like clear to more of a sunglasses like tinted. Did you notice that?
No.
Very what was that? The Georgetown, is it Georgetown?
Oh, Jonestown,
sorry. Yeah, it was very much like his glasses that he wore were like tints. That's what he was wearing.
Yeah. They make eye contact, and you can tell, and she just kind of gives him like a smile, but the shots are so focused on this moment that you're like, okay, so clearly something's going to happen. This guy is crazy. And then we're taken to this group of people, their house or wherever they're living. And the guy who is in the passenger seat, we find out his name is Jeremiah.
You're like, he's Jeremiah. Guess what? He's a cult leader. Jeremiah.
And his name
cult
is
leader.
Jeremiah is very biblical. And his name is
Jeremiah. No, I was just like, it was just it's very obvious that was like, that's the cult leader. And you're like, oh, that's cult leader. And then his name is Jeremiah. And I'm like,
well, his name is Jeremiah. And then they have Sister Lucy and Brother Swan in the group. So it's, it's
Can't we just have a cult where they just have like normal names?
Yeah, like my name, the cult leader's name is Todd.
I came to see Todd.
And Becca.
The Todd. Don't you speak her name.
So he's laying on the bed, and one of his followers, it's this woman with like long gray hair, and she's talking to him, and he's clearly upset, and they go back and forth, and he scolds her for not being able to do anything right. So he clearly has this very strong authoritative grip on these people. Classic cult leader, classic Todds. Yeah. And he calls for another cult member named Brother Swan to come in, and he tells him like, I need that girl that we saw on the road. You have to go fetch me the girl. And then he
said, yeah, boss.
And he goes, yeah, boss. Yeah, I'll get it, boss. And then he also asks if he has this specific horn. And I can't remember the name. I can't find it right now. But he asks if he has like...
It's like the horn of
baklava.
Yeah, that's what we were saying.
Yeah,
I don't know, baklava.
So he's like, do you have the horn? And Brother Swan pulls out, it looks like this almost like an asteroid, this like little mini baby asteroid.
He's like, I got this motherfucker on me at all times. That's what it looked like. It was just like, I've been waiting for you to ask. And then he just like takes it out of his pocket. Yeah. It's a very small horn too. Like it's not like you hear horn. When I hear horn, I think of like something much bigger than
like lava, little like it. You can hold it in one hand.
It's an ocarina.
Yeah, but it looks like an ocarina that's been thrown into a volcano and spit back out.
It was like an ocarina made for the Pick of Destiny. Tenacious D. You've never seen that, have you?
No.
Some of you might. Hey, that's what it looked like, those that have watched that movie.
You're not in a podcast with them. You're in a podcast with me. You talk to me.
I'm talking to the 3 people that listen to this podcast.
Anyway.
One of them has to know.
So he tells them, like, okay, great. You know what we have to do before we get her. And then they make some comment. There's this, I feel bad because there's this chubby kid who he probably is in like his 20s or something like that. But he's like, they look at him, and Jeremiah and Brother Swan are in one room, and the door is open so you can see into like their living room or something. And you can see this kid that's sitting on a couch, and he's just like drinking a slushie or something. And they're like, yeah, but we'll have to sacrifice the kid. And they're like,
porker.
The porker? They call him the porker. They're like, we'll have to sacrifice the porker. And then they both start laughing.
And then cuts away to the porker, and he like looks at the camera and he's like, hi.
He goes,
with like a wave, like a very floppy hand wave, like, hello.
Yeah.
Are you talking about me?
And so the next thing we have is Mandy. She's working at like a gas station behind the counter. She's like the cashier or something. And we see that same old woman that's in the cult come up to her with a bunch of items, and she asks like, oh, what are you reading? And
she says it very, very like,
she's like, what are you reading?
Yeah.
And you can see that Mandy's like uncomfortable.
Mandy's like, are you in a cult?
You look like you're in a cult.
I could tell by the way that you asked that.
And your hair.
One sentence.
And she keeps asking Mandy all these questions, finding out that Mandy lives in the area. She lives on Crystal Lake and all this stuff. And eventually the woman leaves. It's just a very short scene. And then this is nighttime now. And all of these people, they're like, I think it's all of the guys from the cult. And they're like, I don't know, 5 guys. And they're all in the van. Brother Swan is at the driver's seat. He exits the car and he blows the horn a couple of times. He goes, oh!
Yeah. He like, it doesn't even look like he blows on it either. It just puts his mouth on it.
He just puts his mouth on it. You can tell he's not actually blowing. Yeah. There's no like physical,
You can like tell with just not even just like his cheeks, but like his eyes. His eyes are just like deadpan. Like when you're blowing somebody, you still can be like.
I don't really see it in the eyes. I see it in the cheeks more, but.
But I'm saying like we didn't even see it in the cheeks. Pucker up.
And so he goes back in the car after a little bit of just kind of some random like goof around with an idiot cult member. These
playing with a window.
Yeah. These like I think it was like 3 bikers.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's these 3 bikers. We can't see their face or anything like that, but they're all on like black motorcycles or like 4-wheelers, and they look. One looks like kind of like Hellraiser, where he has all of these like
spikes all over him.
It looks like nails sticking out of him, and like you can tell that like these figures are just, they look demonic. Something's wrong with them. And so Brother Swan exits. He gives them this jar of this like sludgy looking gray liquid, and one of the bikers approaches him and just guzzles half of the jar down, and then he says, "Blood for blood." And he goes, Brother Swan. So Brother Swan says back, yes, but we need to complete this first, or we need to get this done first. And so Mandy, we're taken back to Mandy and Red. They're sleeping in their bedroom. And then
what's the a plant house?
Like a greenhouse?
Yeah, they're in their like greenhouse.
Their little greenhouse bedroom. And this is one of the scenes that we're like, this feels very Hellraiser. It's just this light that's flashing, and you see the demonic bikers. I think they're called Black Skulls later on in the movie. So the Black Skulls moving in to Red and Mandy. And this scene I thought was very interesting because it was almost completely silent. Yeah. Besides the music that was happening, there wasn't any screaming or anything like that. They take Mandy and Red, they're on the ground, and with their hands behind their back, they knock out Red. They put a bag over Mandy and take her. And then the next thing we see is that fat kid getting taken. Which, I mean, I can't have too much sympathy for him. That's kind of an odd scene. He's
just like looking.
We see him from like the camera's outside, and he's on the inside of the house. He's kind of pressed up against the glass, and then he's like.
I thought it was the opposite. I thought he was the outside.
I thought he was on the inside
because there was fog and shit.
I don't know.
I just assumed because I saw fog, I assumed he was outside, and then he went into the forest or something, or like they grabbed him and slowly. Anyways, he died.
He died. He did. Mandy wakes up. She's tied up, and she's in I believe they're in their own house.
Yes.
So she's tied up in...
It was confusing me because I was like, are we at... Whose
you
place
never
are we
see
at?
their kitchen. You only see just kind of their bed area, not their
Both
whole bedroom.
places too.
Yeah.
Like, we don't see much of the cult house, and we don't see much of Mandy
and Red's house.
in
So
Red's
we can't.
house,
Yeah. So that definitely was a little confusing because when we were first watching, I was like, okay, so she's at the cult's house, and then later on you realize that they're not. But so she's tied up to one of her like kitchen chairs, and we see Sister Lucy, who she looks like she's probably in her 20s. She looks very like quiet and scared the whole time. But then we have the other woman, the older woman, and she's talking to Mandy and telling her like, you are going to be part of like our family, but don't worry about your husband. He's fine. And as long as you be a good girl, he won't be harmed. Fine too. And then she slaps her right across the face. And Mandy's gagged too. So she can't talk or anything. Right. But whatever. And so you can tell this old woman is almost jealous of Mandy and with how much Jeremiah is infatuated with her. And so she goes over to the counter and they have this solution with this kind of eyedropper. And Sister Lucy holds back Mandy's head and opens her eyelids. And this older woman puts a drop of something in her eye, which we never find out what it is. It must just be like...
Is that the drugs? I assume like that's how they're taking their drugs is... drops
I don't
drops
know.
On the eye, and because I know that's a thing, but
then it's probably drugs. So she puts something in her eye, and then the old woman also takes this giant, it looks like this giant black hornet, and that was the only part that I was like, that looks pretty cheesy. And she takes it and she gets the hornet to sting Mandy's neck, and she says that this is what she considers the cherry on top of everything. Yeah. And clearly then the drugs start to hit Mandy, and this is when like the colors go all funky, the voices go like all weird, and they take her to Jeremiah in the living room with all the other cult members, and Jeremiah's standing there in this stupid like I don't even know what you call it. It's like it's a spaceman religious robe or something like that. And he starts telling Mandy how she's unique and she's one of a kind, and so is he. And basically telling her that, like, you're going to be a part of my family. And I was blessed by, I don't even think he tells you who, but he basically just says, like, someone had told him, and it was probably just this hallucination that he had, that he was owed everything that he wanted in life. And one of the things that he wanted was Mandy. And again, we also find this kind of connection between, like, the Manson family, because as he's talking to her, he puts on this record that he himself recorded these songs. And he makes a mention about like how he was rejected by these idiots for like they didn't recognize his greatness and his like lyrical abilities and everything like that. And so again, like we have kind of that Charlie Manson thing going on. Then he tells her that he has been blessed to lay with multiple women, and she's now going to be one of those women. And he opens up his robe, and then we get the wiener shots.
There it is.
Yeah.
It's become more prevalent within the last, like, 10 years.
Yeah, because I think probably people are like, okay, enough of the boobies. Let's throw some wieners in there. Come on, equality, people.
They go, okay.
Yeah. So he, like, is kind of basically, like, rubbing himself, being like,
here it is.
This is what's coming up, baby. And she just kind of stops and she's listening to this music. And Mandy looks at him and asks him, are you singing this song? Yeah. Is this your music? And he goes, yes, it is. And he's just kind of basking in his own glow. And then she just starts laughing hysterically. Yeah. Like Mandy can't shut up. And then it kind of turns into this like evil, weird.
Yeah, it was like a laugh, but also like a scream.
It was like she's clearly just laughing at how ridiculous everything is.
And then he starts masturbating to it.
But yeah, he starts masturbating, like angrily masturbating to it. And clearly nothing's working for him because he then gets super angry and starts yelling at his other cult members. And then there's a shot, he leaves the room and he's looking at himself in the mirror, and he had worn makeup too, because you can see the makeup running from all of like his tears from being like humiliated. Yep. And he starts yelling at himself in the mirrors and like, tell me what I need to do. What do I do? What do I do? And then we see the craziness set in again. He's like, you need to never doubt yourself ever again.
I like in that scene. I did like the his like monologue that he had, and then it would transition from his face to her face, but really slow.
Yeah, they were very,
they did that like twice within his monologue.
There were certain shots when he was talking to Mandy where we were just focused in on his face. And again, the colors are really different. So I think that transition was a lot easier done. But so we're focused on his face. And as he's talking, it fades in and out with her face. And was specifically like trying to find the moments that I'm like, okay, so where is it? Where do I see Mandy and where do I see him?
Yeah, it
like,
kind of
where
just
does
like
one start and the other end? Yeah.
You'll notice like when you can't see his mouth, like the mouth isn't moving as much anymore. And then you're like, oh, wait, I'm looking at Mandy.
It was the eyes that really got me.
Yeah, it was like the shape of his eyes were changing. And then, not that much, but like enough to where you're like, something's a little off.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why he really had that eyeliner too. I'm not sure. Because I didn't really see him with eyeliner like that. Unless it was just
the colors were they're off, and we see the makeup running when the colors are back to normal. But so after that, we see Red, and he's gagged with barbed wire, and his hands are tied together with barbed wire above his head. So I think he's like tied up basically to like their outside garage or like maybe their little shed or something. So he's on the outside. It
was really hard to see stuff in this movie. It was very
hard to tell where you are. Yeah. And then we have some of the cult members and Jeremiah come up to him, and basically Jeremiah's super pissed because he was rejected once again by someone, and it's by the woman that he thought was this like magical being.
Right.
And he starts yelling at Red and saying how he's basically going to teach them a lesson, and he is going to cleanse them through fire. And then he is given this weird dagger by Brother Swan, and they stab Red right in the stomach, right in the abs.
And like obviously like a reference to like Jesus and getting stabbed in the.
Well, yeah, I mean, it definitely has those biblical moments too. So then the next scene that we have is we just see this big kind of drapery of fabric almost. It's like, it looks like this big sack pretty much.
It looked like a sleeping bag.
Kind of. So it's this big sack of whatever. And it's being hoisted up by one of the cult members. They've like, it looks almost like a swing set that they've crafted. So it's like they're hanging it up by the top rung. And we realize that Mandy's in there.
Right.
And they douse it with gasoline and they set it on fire, and the camera kind of pans over to a lot of the cult members' faces, and we see a lot of them are either like getting off on this or happy that she's gone. You have Jeremiah, who is looking very smug that he's done what he thinks is like the right thing to get rid of her. And then we also see
either the right thing or,
well, in his mind, he's like righting his injustices, which he was,
but then there's another part of him that is he's just like, yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, he's just a guy. He's fragile masculinity is such a dangerous thing. And then we also see Sister Lucy, her face, and she looks more terrified.
Yeah, she's not enjoying what's happening.
Yeah. Again, I wish we had more backstory on them. And then of course we're taken to Red, and I think, again, the audio is taken away from. Yeah,
you don't hear him screaming.
But you see him screaming. He's crying.
Oh, yeah, you don't hear him screaming.
Yeah. He's crying. And then after a while, everything's kind of like burnt down. And the cult members just kind of look at him and leave. They just drive off. Yeah, and it was a very awkward kind of moment. Like, well,
I had mentioned, it's like at the end of normal movies where everyone's like, yeah, they jump up in the air and then it's freeze frame.
And then it's
like,
like the 3 minutes after that, once they hit back down on the ground, and you're like, huh.
Well, time to hit the old dusty trail. So, fun times. And then they leave. And this was just the same thing as like,
You're like, okay, well, don't forget. Yeah, I think I had my bag over there.
Here, because he got dressed and everything, and he's like in his like
he's in his normal clothes.
Yeah, like he obviously walked back inside, got dressed, got his boots on. He was wearing like cowboy boots or something, and then came back and then just kind of looked at Red and was like, well, like the thing was like there wasn't really much for him to say because he literally just did everything he could ever do. It was just not like, hey, remember, fuck you, and then leave. It was just like, well. That was about it. And it just leaves.
And then Red kind of wriggles his hands out of the wire that's been holding him. And we mentioned this too. Surprisingly enough, he didn't rip all of his skin off when he was trying to get out.
He didn't fillet himself?
No!
With something that's not even sharp?
That's so surprising. So
I still got that stuck in my head.
That's pretty gross.
We're talking about
Gerald's game.
Oh, God.
Anyways, so he gets out. He doesn't have any pants on, but he has his tidy whities. Yeah. And so he goes into his very, like, 70s style bathroom.
Yep.
Where it's just, like, this very intense, like, pattern of yellows and oranges and browns. And he goes in the bathroom. He starts screaming like a crazy manic person. He grabs a full bottle of vodka and he starts downing it and then screaming and then drinking and screaming. It's just, like, this really interesting kind of funny scene back and forth.
I swear. I feel like they're just like, all right, this is all you, Nick. You just do what you want. What do you think you would do at this point? And he'd probably just be like, oh, I don't know.
I'll probably drink.
Probably drink my sorrows away. And they're like, perfect. Why don't you just go do that in the bathroom?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I marked it down on my notes as bathroom vodka party.
Yeah. It's one continuous shot of just him drinking and screaming. And it's definitely like Nic Cage screaming. He's like, ah, ah. There's a way he screams, which, by the way, he actually worked with a screaming coach for this movie named David Sellers.
I'm going to give him a call.
Yeah. I was like, I don't think he screamed that much in this movie. A little portion of it, too. Like, the screams that, like, were screamy screams, they cut out anyways. They muted anyways.
So clearly he wasn't a very good coach.
Yeah. But I just wanted to say, like, with that scene, too, that would be a really good Halloween costume, or like a
I really
go into
think,
like cosplay or something.
I really think that cool. Rob should have that as his Halloween costume, and I would just be Burnt Mandy. Yeah. And if anyone agrees,
I'll walk around with the vodka bottle, Smirnoff or something.
But it's the tidy whities.
It's the tidy whities, and then the socks, the tube socks that have like the red and blue kind of stripes on them, and then just like splattered in blood. That's
God, I'm so excited. Anyway, so the next, and this happened at night, too, still when he got out of his binds. And then we're taken to, we're not exactly sure the timeline, but the next scene is during the day. So it's at least the next day.
Yeah. Which, by the way, he doesn't go to call for help or anything. It's just,
he doesn't at all call the police.
We're living in a weird world. This is a weird world that we have to realize that we're not.
You can't trust the cops when they're black skull bikers.
Yeah. They're probably just like, we don't have, what is phone? Oh yeah, I guess so.
It's 1983. So he goes to this like mobile home in this field, again, still in the forest.
Yep.
Knocks on the door, and you can see just like above the door handle, it's written in Sharpie, "fuck off."
Fuck off.
Which I would love to have that on my door. And so he like pounds on the door. The guy opens it, and clearly they know each other. And Nick comes in, and what does he call the weapon?
The Reaper?
Yeah. So he tells the guy in there, he's like, "I'm here for the Reaper." And the guy's like, "Oh yeah, I was wondering when you'd come back for that." Which, what happened there? Where did you guys meet? What is the history?
Who are you?
So he goes.
We missed something.
What?
We had seen when he came back from being tortured and everything, and he got out of he went back into the house, to which we all got to watch this commercial.
Oh yeah, it was like goblin mac and cheese. Yeah, cheese goblin, mac and cheese,
or the cheddar goblin.
Oh, the cheddar goblin.
So that cheddar goblin commercial, which I thought was really funny, but it was like really, it wasn't real. It was timed really odd. We were just like, now what is happening? Why this? The cheddar goblin commercial was directed by the same guy who made the Adult Swim short film Too Many Cooks.
Are you fucking kidding? Don't even start with me. Eddie my friend Eddie showed me that one time and didn't tell me what it was. So I sat there for not the whole thing, but I sat there for way too long. And I was like, this can't be, what the fuck is this?
Just kept going and going.
I just felt like, I don't know, I was in my 40s and being like, okay, so when does the show start?
I remember I was like, this is so great.
Oh my God.
I haven't seen it in a while, but it was made by the same guy. And after knowing that, I'm like, okay, I can kind of see that.
Yeah, man. But yeah, so there was this really funny commercial, which I actually kind of liked because it was just like, yeah, everything's still normal for the world. Your world just burned, but everything's still normal here. We got the cheddar goblin.
Cheddar goblin puking on kids. He was puking mac and cheese.
And they're like, yay, who doesn't love the cheddar? And it looked like one of the gremlins.
Yeah.
That's
From
what
Gremlins.
Yeah, but like not the cute ones.
No, the gremlin.
When it's actually the gremlin.
I think so.
Katie was a sexy gremlin for Halloween one time.
Really?
It was great. It was so funny. It was really funny. We are taken back to this mobile home with this random dude that he clearly has a history with. And in the shot that he's picking up the Reaper from one of like the storage bins that was like a couch or something in there, we see one of the top cabinets open with like a bunch of food and stuff. And you can see little boxes of the
cheddar goblin
in there. So I did like that. I thought that was cool. That was really funny.
They definitely tried with a lot of like the subtle kind of stuff in this movie.
Yeah, I like that. Mm-hmm. So then we have these two guys talking, and the guy who lives in the mobile home is telling him like, well, I have some more weapons if you want that'll actually really do damage. And he's showing him like all of these arrows for his crossbow, which is the Reaper, that will like pierce through bone and all of this shit. And then he presses Red asking what happened, and Red screams, they burned her!
Yeah.
They burned her!
The demons!
And
they're evil.
Exactly. So he tells him, and he basically, I remember thinking this, his character basically says how anyone else would describe what's happened in that scene, where it's like, I don't know what happened, just a bunch of dirty hippies came with their demon biker muscle, and like they just did a bunch of terrible shit.
They're evil.
Yeah, and that was kind of how Red described it to this guy. And I was like, yeah, that's how I describe it. Yep. I don't really know what happened, but that's how I describe it. And so he tells him everything that happened, and this guy is, I don't even know if you'd call him a friend, but we'll call him a friend right now.
I mean, yeah.
His friend tells him that there have been rumors about those bikers kind of throughout the area. There have been like sex workers that have died, and like random trekkers that have been murdered and slain and all this stuff. And the only consistency in the story is it's these Black Skull bikers. And he also tells Red that they think what happened is these bikers knew some kind of person, some like drug dealer or distributor who made a really intense special batch of acid. And these bikers took like a big amount, and they were never the same again.
So they're basically just biker addicts.
It's like their chemical makeup has been changed because of the acid.
I mean, it's very prevalent with some of the scenes that we see.
Well, absolutely. And I can't remember if this guy told him where to find the...
He said north.
He said north?
Yeah, which is also kind of funny. It's just like... And it's very... it is kind of like 80s action kind of aesthetic, where it's just like, where do I find them? You can find them north. And they're like, do you have an address? Or north is not like north is a direction, sure, but I don't. Do I go like north and a little bit like to the left or right, or where am I? Go north. That's all I can tell you.
That's all I can tell
you can tell me more. Surely you can tell me more.
North.
Godspeed.
Not south. Before
demons.
Before he goes to find the demons, he forges himself a really intense, almost like it looked like something that you'd see in God of War.
Yeah, pretty much.
This big giant like
meaty
axe. Mm-hmm. It's very, and my whole thing is like, okay, where did he get that mold?
Yep.
Like, how long did it take him to get that mold? Where did he get all of that metal? Like, all of the material for it?
Yep.
That would take so fucking long to do and to polish and to get rid.
The fact that he polished it too is kind of funny, but
right, like, why do you need to polish it?
You're gonna go use this to fucking kill people, and that's it.
Whatever. Yeah. So that again, the time.
I was just looking at you because I'm like, all right, you tell me what's going on in this.
Too much, and he's wearing sunglasses when he's forging.
Right.
No.
And I say I'm looking at Jessica because she has experience in this. That's why I'm looking at you when I see stuff like this. I'm like, is this?
I took a couple blacksmithing classes.
Yeah. That's a couple more than me. So I'm looking at you.
I just know the basics, but that I can tell you was not.
Yeah.
That was
I also
too much
noticed
work.
like that axe didn't look like it had any kind of like gripping or handle work. It's like literally all just one piece
slipping
of
and
steel.
sliding.
Yeah,
that would not be comfortable.
Especially him being covered in blood later on in the movie.
Exactly. You need something to grip with. I don't care how callousy your hands are.
What's the point of having because it had a handle near the top of the axe too? Because he was holding it like this, where with two hands, where the axe is near his left hand. Instead of being below the blade, it's like within the blade is where the handle was. Maybe
to like drill in more, if you like make contact with something, just to push it in.
I guess he's a lumberjack. They did establish that. So
so an axe is, we have chainsaws too coming up, so they really hit hard on the lumberjack. So he, after forging this weapon and getting all hyped up, he ends up he just ends up in the forest, and he's on this road, and he's kind of using his scope on the Reaper, and he just sees the biker gang just drive by.
They got him.
Yeah. Just in the middle of the night.
There's no more rumors.
The right road.
There's no rumors. They're factual.
They are real. And so there's one that's kind of trailing behind. Does he end up shooting him? I think he does. He shoots him off his bike
and then tries to run him down with his car.
Yeah, and so he shoots him off his bike, jumps in his car really fast, goes down the road, hits him, and then his car completely flips. It's basically like he hit a wall.
That's what it seemed like, because it was a spiky dude too, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Is this guy he's a daemon.
He's a daemon.
Holy shit, I didn't do that.
So his car completely flips, and then Red wakes up, and he is at the pad of the Black Skulls. And he's in, the structure's so weird. Yeah. Because so he's in this room, and he has one hand cuffed to a rusty pipe, and then his other hand is nailed to the ground. Yeah. And
because that's how he wakes up. He goes, because he tries pulling on his hand.
He tries pulling on his hand, and then he's like, oh, nope.
I'm awake, by the way.
I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah.
So he... then I think one of the Black Skulls comes up to him, and he starts he says something to Red.
It was hard to hear what they were.
It was really hard to hear. And I will say, we usually watch movies with the captions on, so we can get everything.
What's with Shudder? This is our first time using Shudder.
Maybe we just haven't figured it out yet.
I paid for the subscription too. We waited too long, so it happened already. But,
oh no.
But yeah, I didn't see any options for captions.
Well, yeah, I mean, but we couldn't understand what he says. He says something clearly about Mandy, and Red kind of breaks down. He's like, I don't want to talk about it. And then Red ends up kicking him in the groin, and he had loosened the pipe, so he is able to grab the pipe away from the wall, basically beats up one of the Black Skulls, and right next to Red is just this
it's a big old pit.
It's like this shaft from where an elevator should be or something like that. And he throws the guy down the shaft, and it's completely dark down there.
He just falls into the abyss, and you're like, whoa.
He's like, what, 20 stories up?
Yeah.
I don't know, it looks ridiculous. So he throws him over, and he's able to take the nail out of the floor and his hand. He gets up, and then he starts walking around, and there's this weird shot where he's looking in the bedrooms and some of the rooms, and there's this old naked guy.
Is he old?
Yeah.
I didn't get old, but
he has white hair and he has wrinkles. He looks like he could be some mayor. Just probably in the episode.
A mayor.
And so we have this old naked guy who is bent over a bed, and he has blood on his abs. So I don't know what the whole story was. And then there's this older woman in the bed too, and they're both dead. And I don't know. It's it's a very weird. Again, you don't get any explanation.
Yeah. Just dead people.
There's not a lot of context to work with, so I don't know what to think about it.
Yeah.
Really. So he's walking through, and then he sees. He comes up basically from behind. He sees this other Black Skull who is sitting in front of the TV, and he's watching this 80s porn scene, and he's bent over this coffee table, and he just has this mound of coke that he's just put his whole face into, and he's like I woke up the dog.
He's okay.
It's okay. Nicolas Cage, he is about to go and hit this guy on the back of the head, and
he was gonna like cut his throat because he has the.
So he comes up from behind him, and the guy, you can see the like black skull can see his reflection in the TV, and right before Nicolas Cage goes to attack
he's also
him,
watching porn. That's just.
Yeah, I said that.
Oh, he did?
He's watching 80s porn, yeah.
He's watching porn. I just wanted everyone to.
One more time.
He's watching porn.
So,
doggy style.
Oh my god. Anyways, so he goes to attack him and he screams before he attacks him, which of course this black skull takes him, flips him over the table. All of the coke goes everywhere. And eventually a fight ensues. Nicolas Cage gets a jump on him, kills him.
Yep.
And then
covered in blood.
Covered in blood. Oh yeah, he slits his throat when so the black skull has Nicolas Cage on the ground and the black skull's on top of him. And Nicolas Cage somehow manages to slit his throat. And again, like how we talked about, what movie was it? Oh, it was The Conjuring.
Is it Conjuring?
Yeah, it was The Conjuring, where again, no one closes their fucking mouth.
The Shining. Not The Shining. The Exorcist. When the puke gets in his mouth.
But also The Conjuring.
What was in The Conjuring?
There's like black shit that was thrown up into her mouth.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So multiple movies where
they gargle it and they go and then they spit and go, ew, why'd you do that?
You know, one time I was fishing and I got a hook stuck in a fish and I had to kind of like, it was really bad. I felt really bad for the fish, but I had to get it out, and a little fish blood hit my face and I almost vomited. It hit my cheek and I was like, that was the most disgusting thing ever. That's when it became very real for me that I was
the
like,
fish is like, boo-hoo for you. My blood got on you.
I don't want anything. I don't want another bean's blood on my face or in my mouth.
But in this movie, it gets poured in his face and his mouth opens. He's like
smiling the whole time. He's like, just like his mouth open, whatever. And so he kills him. And then the black skull that was thrown down the shaft comes back. And he attacks Nicolas Cage, Red, and again, fight ensues. Red ends up killing him.
What does he yell? He goes like, that was my favorite shirt.
Oh yeah, because the black skull, the first one, had like just cut his shirt.
Yeah, he like specifically just cuts his shirt. He goes up to him and
just like cuts his shirt. And then the second time round, Nicolas Cage goes, you cut my shirt!
You cut my shirt!
Yeah, so that was pretty funny. Ends up killing him. And then he grabs, there's like this shard of glass that has this, it's like stuck in the pile of the Coke that's on the floor. Yeah. And he just kind of scoops up a big pile of Coke and he just like, no, it's more like. I scared the dog again. And so he's super hyped. He ends up finding his axe that was hidden in the kitchen and his crossbow. And then he sees the gray jar of sludge. Yep. And he like sticks his finger in like and just puts a little like drop on his mouth. And then we're taken to a whole scene where we see his face melting and like all the cosmos in existence. And like you can tell like this is the acid that like
scene.
Fucked him up.
Yeah. And this is the same jar like those
it's the same jar that they were chugging. So Nicolas Cage leaves. And then he goes outside and he like jumps down, I don't know, a few stories.
It was enough. It was enough that was noticeable. Like he jumps off the side and then you hear nothing, boom. Yeah. And then he lands and you're like, oh my God.
And he's just like, and we're like, damn, that acid, man. Yeah. So he goes out and he sees this car on fire from a distance. And then he can see the last black skull standing watching the flames. Yep. So he shoots his bow and arrow,
which he found in the kitchen. They had left his bow in the kitchen and his axe in the kitchen.
Are you joking? I just said that.
I thought you didn't say that. I thought you went straight into the drugs. Hey, pass the drugs.
I need some more drugs. Yeah, he found his...
Did you know his name is Red?
Oh, God. Anyway, he shoots one of the arrows and it goes right... like not through, but it sticks right into the black skull's throat.
Yeah.
And the black skull just grabs it and pulls it out the other end.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like spurting some blood.
It was kind of like chunky blood too.
Yeah, I think if you take too much acid, like blood thickens like cottage cheese.
He's like some kind of zombie.
So then they start. They get into a whole
tussle.
I'm trying to think what really happens. Eventually, like Nic Cage chops off his head, finds a cigarette on the ground that's like barely been smoked, and lights it from the flaming Black Skull's head.
Yep.
So, and then boom, that's all done.
Yep.
Then Nicolas Cage, covered in blood, still on his acid trip, hyped up from the coke.
Aren't we all?
Oh God, I wish. He goes to find the chemist. That's the character's name listed on IMDb. Yep. So he goes into, it looks like, if you see, I think it's The Dark Knight Rises, Batman's like lair.
It's like it's a plane hangar.
No, it looks like Batman's lair in the storage unit. That's down below. Even the lights. I don't know. We'll have to go back.
Yeah, it's a hangar.
I don't know. Anyways, so he walks into this. It basically just is this empty room, except for
very stylized.
Very stylized. You see this kind of like little lab set up where this guy's working. Then you also see a tiger in a cage. And every time I see a tiger in a movie now, I just think of Joe Exotic.
I know.
And I'm like, how good is that tiger's life? Probably not great.
I don't know. Sometimes, I mean, animals now, they have to be treated very well in the movie industry for good reason, but they get a lot of precedence too when it comes to like filming and everything too. So I don't know. I've heard that it's loosened a lot, or not loosened, but tightened, I guess I should say. The rules regarding using animals is very, very strict. So I don't know. I mean, I would assume that tiger probably is getting better treatment than
on set
the tigers
or at home.
Get paid well.
There you go.
Let's make that bank.
Making that bangle.
Yeah.
So he goes into this chemist's lab, and the chemist turns around, and it's basically a one-way conversation.
Yeah.
And he's like looking at Nicolas Cage, and he goes, "Oh, that's my tiger, Lizzie." And then he's like, "I can tell I'll be fine because Lizzie's calm." "Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, Lizzie, you can go." And the tiger just like leaves.
He just lets it go.
And he like lets it go, sets it free. And then he talks about how he understands that what happened with the Black Skulls. He knows that the cult fucked with him too far. And so he basically is like, "Okay, yeah, well, here's all your information. I understand your whole life story. You didn't say a word. You just looked at me with those big Nicolas Cage eyes. Great, let's go." So then
that was it.
And
so apparently that actor that played the chemist, he
was in Batman too.
Was he?
Yeah.
He posted on Twitter and he said that the original script actually said that Lizzie was a lizard. And he said he remembers when he arrived on set, the director came up and was like, "Oh, by the way, Lizzie's a tiger now," and then walked away.
That's pretty different.
Yeah. And I don't know what, like, if they were just like, "Yeah, we couldn't get a lizard, so tiger was cheaper."
Oh my God. So they're clearly not getting paid well. Anyway, so Nicolas Cage, he goes up and he's kind of in this, like, it almost looks like a mountain range, kind of like this very hilly area, like these peaks and valleys. And he's on one of the peaks, and in one of the valleys that he's looking down, we see this like wooden triangular house. It looks, if anyone has seen Midsummer, it looks very much like that. He goes down onto a road, and one of the roads like leading from the area, Brother Swan is driving their van, and Redhead puts some spikes down, the van stops, he ends up killing Brother Swan, and Sister Lucy was in the van too, and we're led to believe that he just lets her go.
Yeah, he kind of just looks at her and then walks away.
Which I say kill her.
Yeah, well, that's why I asked too. I'm like, I mean, the movie specifically shows her react a certain way. But that doesn't mean that Nic Cage saw, or that Red saw how she was reacting when they were burning Mandy alive. So I think it would be a decent assumption that everyone's
you're in the cult, you're evil,
with what happened, so you're going to die too. But for some reason, he's just like, I know
I see Mandy in
you. You're conflicted.
So he lets
Which anyone would be conflicted if they just saw someone die in front of them, knowing that they probably should die too, and they'd be like, "Oh, no, not me. I never wanted it."
So he basically finds his way onto the cult compound, and he ends up killing one of the dumb cult members pretty quickly. And then he sees another cult member, and Red picks up this chainsaw that was laying on the ground. And as he picks up the other one, the cult member sees him and takes out an even bigger chainsaw.
I too have chainsaw.
And then there's a chainsaw battle and and all that stuff. And eventually Red kills him by wrapping this actual chain around his neck and pulling him down onto a chainsaw. So he's taken out.
And that chainsaw fight had to be filmed in one night. Which the
Why
director,
did it have to be?
I have no idea, but the director described it as straight up living hell to shoot.
The director did?
Yeah. I could understand how, like, I don't understand, like, why it needed to be one night, but I could understand how everything that we saw too, that would suck. Like, all you have left is just time. Like, your constraint is time. You don't have a lot of time. Usually, like, fight scenes and stuff like that, you span that over days and days and days, not hours.
Yeah.
literal like.
That would be exhausting. More so for the actors, but sure, the director.
Yeah.
So, Red...
Well, I mean, not just the actors, but you got the people behind the scenes and the cameramen who have to reset and have to do all that too. So,
yeah. Red goes into this like the wooden church-like structure, has a big cross on it, and I don't think I mentioned this. The cult's name is Children of the New Dawn, I believe. And so he goes into the this like wooden building, and at the end of the room there's this trapdoor that he climbs down. The first person that he kind of runs into down there is that old woman, the long gray hair, and so weird because like as soon as he walks up, she goes straight up to him. She's like, "I'm the best lover. Like I can anticipate my lover's needs, and I meet those needs." I'm like a wave, like lapping over a rock and
the rocky rocks. Here I am.
And it's just like, you can tell that she's obviously pleading for her life with the only thing that she knows how. And then we're taken to kind of this like almost dungeon looking area.
It's like weird catacombs almost.
Yeah. And so we're taken to this room, and the shot is basically we're shown the back of Jeremiah, who is kind of standing against the end of the room, the wall on the end of the room. And he is talking, then all of a sudden this thing rolls across the ground to him, and it's that woman's head. It's the old woman's head. Yep. And he freaks out, and
he freaks out and he starts kicking.
He like kicks out like a soccer ball. Yeah. And then of course Red comes in, and Red goes up to him. He ends up grabbing Jeremiah's head and kind of pushing him down, so Jeremiah is like kneeling. And Jeremiah's going back and forth with like, I'll kneel to you, like I'll even suck your dick.
Yeah, I'll fucking suck your dick,
man. And he just like, he gets like kind of real at that point where he's like, oh, I'm powerless. And then of course his cult mentality comes back, and he's like, I don't kneel to you, you kneel to me. And then in this very distorted voice, Red goes, I'm your god now, and then like squishes his head like a grape, and his eye pops out, and then of course we have all the flames kind of engulf that room as Red is exiting, so kind of giving his final revenge. He leaves the church structure, kind of sets that on fire, and he gets into his car, and he's just kind of like sitting there for a while, and then we have a flashback to when I think we can assume when Red met Mandy, and it was like at this concert, and you know they're wearing the shirts that they kind of were both attacked in, and just kind of going back and forth. And then Red starts driving, and then as he's driving, Mandy, a hallucination of Mandy kind of sits next to him in the passenger seat just looking at him. And then our like kind of last shot is Red, I'm gonna say Nicolas Cage because it's a very Nicolas Cage face, and he just has a stupid grin on his face and like just like eyes wide. Like it looks, I don't know, it looks ridiculous. And that's the shot that kind of like ends the movie. And then there's an after credits moment where you just see,
which is silent too.
The credits are silent. And then we have our after credits scene where it's just we're just shown kind of a picture of Mandy's drawings, and one of them is Red with a tiger in the background. So that's how we ended the movie.
Yeah.
Whew.
How did you feel after that movie?
Not satisfied.
It's weird. It's like there was things in it that I appreciated, and then you couple that with things that I'm like, come on, give me something, give me a little bit more. And you're like, oh, you want more? How about more of this? I'm
there
like,
was
no.
there was a lot of nothing. I'll say that.
Yeah. There were things. It depends on like the subjective where you're just like, I've never seen that before. I guess. Some of this, some of that. The transitions between the face where his face didn't move at all. I've never seen anything like that before. I'm not saying like that's going to be, I'm going to give it a whole nother point just for that. But it's something to remember. I'm like, okay, that was neat. Let's jump into the IMDb reviews.
Yes.
So men our age rated it a 6.9. And women our age rated it a 6.5 out of 10. Reviewer number 1, really, really not for everyone, but 7 out of 10. Okay, so I first watched this, not sure what it was about, but I was hopeful of some good old meme quality Nic Cage rage scenes at the very least. After it finished, I sat there thinking, what the fuck?
Yep.
And I had to go make a cup of tea and seriously think about some of my life decisions. Once that was done, I came on to IMDb to find out more about this film and frankly rant a little. After spending a good half hour reading a lot of very mixed reviews, I decided to leave it and watch the film again another day, which I just have. It's not my cup of tea. I think the majority of people will hate this film purely because it's not what they're used to and they just don't get it. Yes, okay, sympathize with the haters. The film is a very simple revenge plot. There's not much dialogue. It's filmed mostly in red, and it can drag on in places, and many will turn it off before it gets halfway. Which is a shame, as the film left me with a similar what the fuck did I just watch feeling that reminds me of the first time I watched Eraserhead. Mandy is very much an art house film with a dose of 80s grindhouse thrown in. And if that's the kind of film you like, then you'll love this film. Nic Cage is brilliant in it. And yes, he has those rage moments. The violence is swift and brutal. There's even a chainsaw fight. It's surreal. The atmosphere and the music blends perfectly with the madness and drug-induced hysteria. And the anger the film is trying to portray in its own art house style, I genuinely think will turn out to be a cult classic.
I can see that.
So, yep. Not for everyone, but at least try and appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah.
That's not much I really disagree with or anything. I agree with most of that, yeah. Review number 2, different and experimental. The problem, 8 out of 10. The visuals, the sound, and the dialogue are harmonizing so good together that you can sink into this movie very good. If you admit it. And that's the problem with this movie. It's very different from other movies and very experimental. But that isn't the problem. Over 30% of the world are atheists. And in this very religious, mystical world, they can't embrace themselves into the movie.
Wait, he's saying the problem with the movie is that some people are atheists?
In the world.
In our world?
Yeah. This is their personal feeling about that. So it is very hard to rate this movie in numbers in pure objectivity.
I'm sorry, is this person an atheist or are they just
I don't know where they're going with this either.
Oh, okay.
They're talking about objectivity, but then they're talking about religion, but they're also talking about outside of the movie, not what happened in the movie.
Fuck?
You have to watch it to make your own opinion. But if you can't get into some mysterious, of course. But if you can't get into some mysterious or religious thematics, then don't watch it. I don't say this movie is an underrated masterpiece. It's just some fresh air in the actual mainstream cinema. But the movie has some weaknesses. I hate the way that they're forming these sentences.
Yeah, that's really shitty.
The script is good, but at some points too long. The story couldn't be simpler. And in the ending, there are many cuts with very less explained.
Oh my God.
But it's still a good movie. Oh, it's still a good movie. They did not spell it that way. You can sink in because of the beautiful, but sadly last score of Johan Johansson and the harmonization of light and old look camera technique.
Is it over?
Yep.
Oh, thank God. Okay, I did not understand where the fuck they were going. And if they were saying the problem with the movie is that some people are atheist, no. that's not an issue. I mean,
you didn't like this movie? You're probably atheist or something.
You atheist bitch.
What's your problem? You atheist or something?
That's like, just because you don't believe in, a god or a higher power or whatever, doesn't mean that you can't recognize the religious themes in the movie.
Right.
Okay.
It's just because we were bringing up like specific things that happened in the movie. They're like, oh, like Jesus.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, what? What's wrong with that? Is there an issue that you think that looks like Jesus? Because that's your opinion too.
It's on you, buddy.
What, you fucking atheist? And you bring up Jesus? No.
Surprised you even know his name.
Yeah. Review number 3.
Oh, God.
If you love classic Nic Cage, buckle in. 10 out of 10.
The fuck? Aren't there any lower scores?
Yeah, but they actually were like 1 or 2 sentences. I
damn it.
didn't feel like jumping in.
Yeah.
Is this a character study? Nope. Is this a drama? Nope.
Nope.
Is this a comedy? Nope. Is this the best 80s horror throwback film starring one of the most iconic actors on planet Earth trying to make a comeback with a visual, creative, artistic masterpiece for us hardcore horror fans that know true movie gold when we see it?
Nope.
Hell yeah, it is. You have to understand this movie from Nick's perspective when deciding to take the role.
No, I'm not going to put myself in the actor's shoes.
He wasn't even specifically supposed to. He didn't try out for this role. He tried out for the cult leader's role. And then he liked this actor or this character better. Simple story, room to breathe as actor. And so out there that only Nick could pull this off. I know Nick instantly knew this part was meant for him. Every single scene was shaped and shot perfectly, and Nick delivered on each and every one like the boss that he is. Over-the-top lighting was very effective and simple as well. Genius in my books. The entire lighting scheme was the entire tone of evil and pure sadistic rage. It simply could not have been shot any other way. Truly brilliant, and should be taught in film school.
What?
Yeah. Have I been waiting for a movie that puts Nic Cage back on top of his craft after the past 20 years? Absolutely. Nick has
He's just been waiting in his house.
He just keeps refreshing.
He won't watch anything else.
His stories and everything.
Yeah.
He's like, where's Nic Cage? Where's
Nic
Nic Cage?
Cage,
Where's
Nic
Nic
Cage,
Cage?
Nic Cage.
He has the pillow. Where
Yeah.
Nick has finally delivered on what we hoped he would do at some point before retiring. Make a comeback. This is his comeback. Instant, timeless cult classic that will inspire movie watchers and filmmakers for a very long time.
Mm.
The awesomely unique Nic Cage doing the only thing that one single human being in the entire multiverse can do with complete authenticity, and that's be Nicolas fucking Cage.
I think this guy's a fucking troll.
Welcome back, sir. I know. I can't. Yeah, there's nothing really much we can take out of that review, really.
No.
Just a fanboy. Well, with that, let's jump into the final reviews. Jessica, what is your final rating?
I think I'm going to give it a 4.8.
Okay.
Yeah. I liked it. I would probably recommend people watch it. It may not be a top recommendation that I have. It wasn't scary. It was spooky.
Nope.
And I liked some of the lighting and the themes that they had within it. So I thought overall it was a pretty decent movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is some rewatchability there for me, not a ton, but I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm going to give it a 5.2.
Nice.
I was trying to think about the rewatchability too, and I remember I was like, oh my god, like the beginning, we realized it took half the movie just for everything to really kick off.
Very
which
slow
isn't
burn.
necessarily bad. It's just what else was happening in this movie. But
Well,
what we knew was going to happen at some point. We knew there was going to be a revenge or something. But
there are some movies that they would do it really well, where it doesn't
Right.
feel like it's a long movie, and there are other movies that it drags on a little bit, and you can feel the length of the movie.
I mean, like we were saying, like John Wick, the whole thing happened within the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying that
Yeah,
John
I'm
Wick's
not
a great
saying that.
movie, but I'm just saying because that's what this movie gave us.
Yeah.
John Wick vibes. But yeah, it's hard because it's really stylized. This movie's
Mhm.
super stylized, and like I said, there's a lot of scenes that I thought were really cool.
Mhm.
When it comes to how deep the movie was, I don't know. I'm sure I think in some ways, I'm sure there's some things because they were very specific on very subtle things in the
Mhm.
movie that they didn't explain or didn't feel like they need to explain, and
Like
maybe
the
there's
cheddar
more to it.
goblin.
The cheddar goblin. There's got to be more to that. But I still think I would if I wouldn't say if I had to, but I'd probably watch it again.
It's
but
probably going to be a
knowing that
night
the
where I'm
first-
okay, let's just get drunk and let's
Yeah.
watch something weird.
yeah,
That's probably what it's gonna be.
probably. And I honestly I want to see the part where he's drinking
In the
his sorrows in the
bathroom.
bathroom again.
The
I just
vodka
really
party.
liked it. And I liked the aesthetic of the room too.
Yeah.
Like you said, it was very 70s. So
Mhm.
it was kind of fun. And I definitely saw those Nic Cage kind of
Moments,
aesthetics
yeah.
and moments. So I liked it as well. I'm not a huge fanboy like this person in review number 3.
You wanted to get
I
the kill.
prefer. I'd like to, just because I know you're not a huge fan, so I'm a huge fan now.
Yeah.
But I'd give it a 5.2. I would. It's like some of these people said, it's a very simple plot, which it really is.
Mhm.
And you are essentially just told, hey, all logic and reason
Yeah.
kind of throw it out the door. You're here just for this.
Mhm.
So don't worry about the details. And I get that, but I can't help not to.
Mhm. Yeah.
So 5.2.
Nice.
Decent movie.
Cool.
Thank you so much for listening. We put out 2 episodes every Monday and Thursday. Isn't that nuts?
How?
Isn't that crazy? So make sure to look out for them. And how, might you say? Well, we have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest pages, of course. So give us a follow. Take a look. We post just about almost every day, every other day.
We're trying to get up to every
yeah,
day.
just
Definitely
trying to get our groove in. But yeah, so search for us on FAD Podcast. And we're also on YouTube too, if you want to check out some of the cool animations that Jessica has made as well.
Trying to get that up. Also, give us movie recommendations. Always looking for recommendations. So put those out. We'll give you a shout out.
Good, bad,
in between.
We'll watch it. Whatever.
As long as it's spooky.
Yeah, it's maybe just keep it within the spooky realm.
Let's keep spooky for right now.
Right. So with that, adieu to you, Jessica.
And Folie, adieu to you too. You
blow the man down, and pray pay attention and listen to me. Give me some time to blow the man down. I'm a deep water sailor just in from Hong Kong. Give me way, blow the man down. If you give me some